It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
This week's cup of coffee right here at Slumberland at the Lake is a jam-packed show. Hey, do you know there's an election coming up Tuesday?
You know, I wouldn't have known. I completely forgot if you didn't remind me.
I think you're with a lot of others out there who had no idea. We'll talk about the upcoming election. Plus, hey, Shootout. Big news with the state of Missouri Lieutenant Governor's Cup. We'll tell you all about that. Have you seen the progress at Super Splash USA right there on 54?
Just drove by there today.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Got the big slide right up there and everything.
Yeah, and believe it or not, like opening weekend sneaking up on us. So we'll tell you about that, plus some cool local events. Big event following the FEMA, the new flood maps that are being proposed and people here locally fear. Well, they had a follow-up, and we got lots of follow-up in the coming days. March Madness, the bracket coming to a close. You still doing good?
I'm doing really well. I am so far the Lake TV champion.
And you always are the Lake TV champion. I'm like 149th out of 140 people in the High Stakes Bracket Challenge. We'll tell you about that. Plus, we remember very special Lake TV pioneer and grand opening with MCS Construction Services. That and a whole lot more after this from our friends right here at Slumberland at the Lake.
Hey everybody, it's Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. Are you wanting to spruce things up around the house this spring? Well, come check out our spring home sale. We've got discounts for furniture in every room of the house, 0% interest financing for up to 36 months, and don't forget, we deliver the entire lake area. So come check it out, Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
The lake has it all. The scenic outdoors, the incredible events, and of course the water.
But did you know 50% of all fatal boating crashes in Missouri last year involved alcohol?
Although we know the lake is all about having a great time, we also know what's most important to you.
So don't forget and always designate a sober captain ahead of time, so this summer won't be your last summer.
This reminder to drive safe, boat safe, brought to you by Price & Randall Injury Attorneys.
Yeah, remember to drive safe, boat safe all summer long. That reminder brought to you by our friends at Price & Randall Injury Attorneys. And we're going to have Dwayne on here, Dwayne Randall, here in the coming weeks, just to talk about, you see some of the legislation as far as texting and driving, distracted driving. We had some stuff here locally. Well, we're going to bring him on, cup of coffee, to talk kind of about what that means and how that gives power back to local law enforcement to enforce such ordinances.
Yeah, I love Matt and Dwayne. They are such great guys. I mean, injury attorneys are there to help people that get hurt, you know, and that's great and everything. But if you haven't met those guys, they are just incredible people. But again, they just fit in at the lake. We have so many great, wonderful people here. It's amazing.
Yeah, and Dr. Matt Price is kind of like a counselor. I mean, like, you know, you get to spend time with him, and I take advantage of any time I get to meet with him, but he's really...
Like a former missionary or something, right? I mean, just an amazing guy.
Got his doctorate. You know, he has more schooling than you and I combined.
No doubt about it. I think I made it through the 7th grade, and he's got like a doctorate.
And the stipulations were much lighter back then, let me tell you, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, as we look here locally, Chris, you alluded to in the intro that you didn't even think of, and I think a lot of people locally didn't even think of. We have an election coming up Tuesday.
Right, Tuesday. And it's one of those elections that's right in the middle of nowhere that you kind of forget about. And you know what, back last year when we were doing the big presidential thing, this came up at one of the big, you know, what do you call them when everybody gets together and they figure out the vote, caucuses. You know, there was a proposal to bring all of the elections together on the same day so that everybody would be up to speed on it. But the local people didn't want to do that because they figured we'll just get lost in this. I think they get lost in an April election because nobody knows it's there.
Well, especially when you don't have as many things on the ballot as far as positions and as much contention. And secondly, I've talked with a lot of people with the city of Lake Ozark and Camden County and even in Miller and Morgan counties, and a lot of people are attributing this to overall political fatigue.
Yeah, and I think there's something to that.
You can't turn on the TV Facebook or any of it, regardless of how you feel, and not see something political. And so an election like this here locally, albeit incredibly important, in talking with someone close to the city of Lake Ozark, they said this is the lowest absentee voting they have had for a general municipal election in almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm not seeing a lot of campaigning, and you're not seeing, like I mentioned, you're not seeing a ton of contention. Well, there is an exception. We'll talk about that. But you got to look at your sample ballots, which, as always, you know, if you're aware of, like we almost forgot this election was coming up, the sample ballots and what's on the ballot is very easy to find through all your local municipality, county websites, especially Morgan Miller and Camden County.
Yeah.
And so,
And there's actually a lot on here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be voted for. Camden County, you've got, you know, school district stuff. You've got Max Creek School, Richland School, Hickory County School. I don't even know where
Stoutland.
that is. Yeah. Gravois Fire Protection District stuff. Several propositions. I mean, there is a lot on here. And then you've got like City of Lynn Creek, alderman, and maybe even mayor. I'm not sure if the mayor's there, but the mayor of Camdenton and the alderman there. There's some big elections here that nobody knows about, heard about, because it's in the, you know, early freaking April.
yeah, tons of propositions.
Yeah.
Tons of levies or tax increases for fire protection, road and bridge. And I don't even know how to decipher those and tell you whether or not we would recommend you vote that way. But the one contentious race, or a little bit heated race, would be for Camdenton mayor, the incumbent John McNabb,
Yeah.
and the challenger Daniel Owsley. Now, Mr. Owsley, he is an alderman running for mayor, and he's got a pretty aggressive campaign, but shared some things over the last couple of weeks about a clean race. He wanted to run a clean race, and it hasn't been that way. It looks like there's been some mudslinging between the incumbent John McNabb and the challenger Daniel Owsley. Now, this will be an interesting race because, you know, typically you don't hear a lot about the city of Camdenton. You almost forget the city of Camdenton has local police, has aldermen, has a mayor, has a city administrator, but because you have the county, right? Camden County. Well, this is a big one. You know, we don't hear a lot about the city of Camdenton, but there are some crazy accusations and things coming out against the incumbent John McNabb, some feedback all over the place. And so this will be interesting to follow. And so you have that mayoral race. And I don't even know if people know, as we jump across to Lake Ozark, that's Miller County, Camden County, but mostly Miller County, that the incumbent, who's not running again, Dennis Newberry, he's getting ready to wrap up his 4 years as mayor, 2 terms.
I didn't realize he wasn't running.
Correct. A lot of people didn't realize. And you have 2 aldermen that are running to take his spot, David Ridgely and Johnny Francescos. And if those names sound familiar, like I said, both currently Lake Ozark aldermen. And Johnny Francescos was the mayor forever before Jerry Morowski. And then you had Mayor Newberry. And so it'll be interesting, you know, when Newberry ran the second time, Francescos ran against him 2 years ago. You
That's
remember?
right. I do remember that. Yeah.
And he got some decent amount of votes, I think, with name recognition. But I want to remind people, however you feel, and I think Johnny's a good guy. I think he loves public service. But he was mayor for like 6 to 8 years, maybe even longer. And what's gotten accomplished in the city of Lake Ozark these last 4 years under Mayor Dennis Newberry is hard to argue. And so it might be worth just thinking, do you go back to where it was, or do you keep the progress, the forward mindset? And me personally, you see the name David Ridgely on there.
Yeah.
I see his signs everywhere. He's one of the most level-headed individuals as far as...
Now, he's the popcorn guy, right?
He is the popcorn and chocolate guy.
Right.
He's been an alderman, but what I love about Alderman Ridgely, David Ridgely, is he's really a voice of reason for many things over the last couple of years with the city. He's always been somebody that'll allow you to ask questions, but then give you kind of both sides in the way that from their point of view or their position sitting with the city, how they would look at that and come to that decision. And a lot of times that's in a bipartisan way where, you know, he's able to hear from both sides and move forward. And so I really like David Ridgely. I see he's running. Of course, we can't vote in the city of Lake Ozark, but you see some aldermen, you see the school districts, and you look at, I mean, the city of Lake Ozark has a lot of Carol Deneke, She is being challenged by Drake Schmidt. Krista Watts being challenged by David Gregg. Sherry Jackson's being challenged by Dave Miller. And of course, like I said, Mayor Newberry's not rerunning. So the city of Lake Ozark, their, elected officials, their city government could look much different following Tuesday's election.
Right, and the thing with these small towns is it doesn't take many votes to swing the winner and the loser. I mean,
Right.
in the last few years, the winning, candidate for mayor has around 200 votes. So if you get a clump of people to come out and vote for you, there's a good chance you're going to win these things. But there's a lot of other things, like on the Miller County ballot, you've got Eldon School District stuff, Rocky Mount Fire Protection District, St. Elizabeth School, Cole County School. There's a lot on there that, again, just kind of flies under the radar. Nobody knows about.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it seems like now, locally here at Lake of the Ozarks, the community has their finger on the pulse. They're passionate, they're engaged, or maybe just opinionated, but it hasn't really translated to an increased voter turnout, and that's really where you make the difference, right? And so what collectively here locally do our counties, do our city municipalities, do our chambers, do whatever to increase the voter turnout? Because this is wild that we are just days away from this election, and so many people have no idea that these positions are on the ballot, that these positions are being challenged. And like I said, I mean, a lot of those tax increases and levies and bond issues, there's a lot on there that are going to be decided on by just a few hundreds of people.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes down to this. There's so many votes that are cast in the small towns, small counties and stuff like that, that they start putting up these taxes that nothing about, and their little group gets together and says, we're all going to vote for this so we can get this. All of a sudden, you're paying more taxes that you're going, well, where did that come from, right? So you got to kind of stay up on it. And I contacted, after you reminded me last night that we had these elections coming up, I contacted a local official saying, hey, can you give me some insights into this? Who's good, who's bad, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, we've been so busy, I haven't even had a chance to look yet. So even like some of the top, people in government, I still haven't had time to look at some of this stuff. So I would suggest trying to, get together with people that know, try to get some insight, and then vote. I mean, it's so important to vote.
And a lot of these, I know there's going to be some of these candidates leading into the election Tuesday that are door knocking. It is worth noting that for City of Lake Ozark, Mayor Dennis Newberry, he did attend David Ridgely's meet and greet last week, endorsing him. You saw a lot of the elected officials there, in support of David Ridgely for that Lake Ozark mayoral race. And so I thought that was worth noting, that with as much has been accomplished in the last 4 years, from the sewer, you look at the repavement of the Bagnell Dam Strip that's been a long time coming, you look at some of the infrastructure and development that's coming into the city of Lake Ozark. And so, I mean, it's been a really good trajectory the last 4 or 5 years for the city of Lake Ozark.
Mayor Newberry, too, he was a write-in, right? I mean, he was like a last-minute, okay, I better run, or this is not going to go well.
14 days before the election.
Yeah, and he did a pretty good job.
Well, I mean, yeah, I did not always agree with everything with Mayor Dennis Newberry, but I said to him at this meet and greet that I attended, I said it'd be hard to argue that the city is not in a better place now than it was when you got elected. And I did applaud him as far as the way he got elected was unprecedented, to throw your name in the cap, 2 weeks before the election.
Yeah.
You have an incumbent who, that was Jerry Moralski at the time, and there had been some allegations and reports and questions about
a lot of weird stuff.
Integrity, and so Mayor Newberry said, we can't have that, I'll do it, threw his name in. Not only did he win, he won pretty handedly, and then ran again 2 years later. And so his 4 years, like I said, been the city's in a better place now. And if he's endorsing, David Ridgely, that should tell you something.
Well, and David Ridgely's a big fan of Lake TV. That should say something too, man. He's got to be smart, right?
That's good stuff. So, hey, we're literally in the season. Hard to believe. March is wrapped up. Luckily for you, you didn't have to see the show on April 1st. There was no April Fool's jokes. But is it hard to believe? We're talking about the general municipal election. We're into April. We got big shootout news they've announced this week. Where did the winter and spring go?
Boy, I tell you what, But it happens every year. It flies by. And here we are in April, and pretty soon we'll be talking, hey, it's August, the shootouts this week. Where did the summer go, right?
Hopefully we don't skip all the great stuff between now and then. But yeah, I mean, we're literally, our season's here, and the shootout announced this week that formerly the Top Gun, the trophy, been won the last, 10 years by American Ethanol. Well, it's going to be renamed the Lieutenant Governor's Cup, which I understand there's some history there, but as David Wassinger met with Leah Martin, Myra Coyle, Mark Mawson, and Heather Brown, and they've come to an agreement. The Lieutenant Governor is going to be involved, and so pretty cool to see, and I think that gives the shootout some real good notoriety and namesake at the state level that it probably already had, but at a higher level.
Yeah, it's apparently this nostalgic move of naming what was the Top Gun, the Lieutenant Governor's Cup thing, is a nostalgic move, has roots in the mid to late 90s, where the Lake of the Ozarks shootout was branded as Lieutenant Governor's Cup between 96 and 98. So after nearly 3 decades, Lake of the Ozarks shootout, Lieutenant Governor Cup is alive once again. This is the statement put out by the shootout people. Lieutenant Governor David Wassinger proud to announce that the winner of the annual Lake of the Ozarks shootout, largest unsanctioned boat race in the country, will once again be awarded the Lieutenant Governor's Cup. This Wassinger guy is a big fan of the lake. We saw him at the Conventioner and Business Bureau's dinner a few weeks ago. He was the main speaker there, and he was all fired up. He was happy to be there, man.
And then the Grand Marshal in the St. Patty's Day Parade just a week later. Then he has the lake dignitaries to his office. I mean, so yeah, I think the Lake of the Ozarks, it's always been on people's radar, but now you're seeing things progress really, really fast. And with our Lieutenant Governor and even Governor Kehoe, if you remember, Governor Kehoe's been a big advocate of tourism in Lake of the Ozarks the last 8 years. So now that he's the governor, I mean, I think this all bodes well for the Lake of the Ozarks. But I wonder, one thought is, like, the Top Gun's a huge deal in the shootout, right?
Yeah.
And 10 years in a row, the final 10 years that it was called the Top Gun, American Ethanol has it, right? So no one is ever going to win the Top Gun trophy again. American Ethanol goes out on top with 10 consecutive. And they'll be gunning for this year's Lieutenant Governor's Cup, along with Spirit of Qatar. We'll tell you more about that in the coming weeks. But
I think American Ethanol had Lake TV on their boat, right?
Oh, yeah,
baby. That's right.
In the sunflower gold, the sunflower yellow, and black. But also, this week with the shootout, they announced they partner with X Insurance to bring back the Support Your Troops Poker Run, and that's going to be the same weekend as X Insurance Offshore. And so that's one of the biggest poker runs of the year, the Support Our Troops Poker Run, and it's scheduled for June 20th, 2025. Numerous stops. They partnered with the Heroes Care and Big Thunder Marine.
Yep.
That's going to be a crazy weekend because with the shootout, you always had the polylift, boat lifts, poker run. That's massive, right? That's one of the biggest poker runs of the year.
Huge.
Sight to behold. Those boats everywhere. Well, the Support Our Troops has always been a big one, but putting it with offshore weekend, I think gives it a big potential for more boats, more people to participate. And not only this one, but the polylift one with the shootout. So this is going to be a crazy summer on the water down here at Lake of the Ozarks.
It's funny. They've got the 2025. They've made a little mistake on their poster. 2025 Support Your Troops Poker Run, June 20th, 2024. So somebody missed that on the. But you know what?
But I knew it wasn't.
Yes, you caught it right off the bat. I would have said it wrong. But it's another brilliant move, I think, by the shootout people. As you mentioned, you take something that's already a good thing in the Support the Troops Poker Run. You take that and you bring it in to be a part of the offshore race. I think it's just so smart. And man, I tell you what, the poker run for the big shootout, that's a big deal. That raises a lot of money. People love that. I think this is going to be similar.
That's like one of my favorite content potential opportunity, like days of the year, is that poker run every year. So, all right, hey, another thing is if you're going on 54 and you notice what used to be Big Surf, well, in case you've been living under a rock, is now Super Splash USA. Lake of the Ozarks, new owners bought that at the end of 24, rolled out the red carpet to start 2025, investing millions in the park. And listen, if you missed out, like they gave away free children's passes the end of February and all of March. Hopefully you guys got an opportunity to take advantage of that. Well, mark your calendars because opening weekend, May 23rd, 24th, and 25th is going to be big, but you drive by that and it's already looking so different. You see how quick they're moving. I'm excited to see what that park looks like when opening day hits.
Me too. And, I'm loving the way they're thinking out there. They put that big new slide right out by 54 so everybody can see and kind of get excited about it. It's going to be a wonderful thing. The new owners, they come in and they're such good people, community-minded people. That just kind of want to come in and be a big part of the community, help out wherever they can, offer passes to groups that can come in there and do things. In fact, I think the guy who's going to be running it is going to be on the Lake TV Community Spotlight show in the next few weeks, Dave Bush, and we'll kind of get his story, where he comes from, why he's here and why Super Splash is here and all that stuff. I'm really looking forward to sitting down and getting to know him better. But those people over there are amazingly good people and amazingly accomplished people too. I think the main owner we got to meet a couple of months ago, and he has big businesses based out of Dallas, Fort Worth, but he took time off from all those businesses to be a part of the Trump campaign. He was one of the top guys in the Trump campaign, last
Secret Service or
something like that. Yeah, he was one of the guys that would shake Trump's hand and open the curtain for him when he went out on stage to do these. So, they've got some big, very accomplished people that are now kind of running that.
And what's cool is you're going to see some different outside the box ideas at the park this summer. I was talking with their team last week and they said they're looking at theme days like Comic-Con, where you'll walk around the park and see Marvel characters, roaming the park for photo opportunities. They were even talking about a family-friendly beer and bratwurst festival, at the park, where you get people out and, some cool stuff to think for Father's Day, where they let fathers into the park for free. So cool stuff they're going to be doing year-round. We'll keep you posted there. Hey, another cool event just wanted to tell you about, end of April. Can't believe we're in April again, but Camdenton Band, their annual Swing and Sweets. Please join them for an evening of jazz music paired with a baked good auctions. Two things we both love, jazz music check, baked goods double check. All proceeds support the band program at Camdenton. And if you follow our show and watch it weekly, we followed the Camdenton Band this year with the Nationals, Grand Nationals, and what they've been able to do. Pretty cool stuff. So Tuesday, April 29th, 7 p.m. at the Camdenton High School Band Room, $10 per person at the door. And I think this is something that I might end up seeing you at, right?
Yeah, maybe. And isn't this right around the same time we do the Elegant Evening over there at Camdenton? I think it's the same week. Another big event over at Camdenton that I think we're both going to be at. So yeah, love that. And we had both of the main band leaders on halftime interviews for high school basketball this last year. Great people, just wonderful people. And you can see why the Camdenton Band does so well.
Yeah, really, really cool. And outside the box, I love that. Sweets. And anymore, things are so expensive. You go to Walmart, buy cookies, right? That's a $6 or $7 spend. So I'd say go to an auction, support.
Yeah. Well, you're buying 20 pounds at a time, so, it's no wonder it's expensive.
I told you that in confidence. All right, as we move ahead, there was that big open house recently following the flood map disaster or concern here locally with FEMA and their new flood maps. They're going to be rolling out potentially. The open house was very well attended in Camden County, but this is something that you're going to see a lot of. You're starting to see people's consciousness locally is aware that, okay, look, there could be new flood maps. This could be a bad thing for me. It could mean my house is in the 100-year floodplain, meaning I'm going to be forced to get insurance that I would never need or could never be a concern. And a lot of people won't be able to afford that. This is very, very serious. And Stacy Shore locally has been big advocate of informing people, getting everyone educated. And we're talking with her, and we might even bring her on.
I think that's a good idea.
In the coming weeks, kind of figure out what's going on and why this is so dangerous. And I know there's a period here, but we're in that period where people need to be informed. So stay tuned in the coming weeks because, like we told you last week, if this were to happen, right, there would be thousands of homes who would be forced to get flood insurance for thousands of dollars annually. That has zero chance of ever being needed.
If you're wondering how much is this flood insurance, well, Stacy Shore put out some numbers. For her, where her house is on the water, it would be $11,500 a year. 11,000. I mean, that's a lot of money. And for a second tier property, it was about half that. That's a lot of money every year that the government's going to come in and say, okay, don't know if it's ever going to flood, but we want you to give us this money every year. Again, just another. And I think Trump has already stepped in and stopped this, right? With an executive order?
There's an executive order that would halt some of FEMA and SEMA's efforts and actions. I don't know the exacts there, but we will keep you posted because this is something that we're seeing more and more and more about. And I think that really is what FEMA and SEMA were hoping didn't happen. They want this period, this waiting period, to kind of be low attended, not a lot of awareness around it, and that's how they can progress and roll these new things out without a lot of pushback. So we have people in your community fighting on your behalf, getting people educated and informed. So
some of these numbers are just stupid, though. Part of the floodplain is over the height of the dam, right? So it's never going to flood. So it seems like they're just throwing numbers out their butt there to try to get more money or something. I don't know. That's the way it looks to me.
Yeah, and we will keep you posted. We'll have Stacy get us more info, and as I said, maybe have her on. But all right, so hey, March Madness has flown by, right? We're into April. The Final Four is set, and it looks like, you know, if you look at the High Stakes Smokehouse Bracket Challenge with Lake TV, in first place, it is M. Payne, second place S. Pearson, and in third place M. Connell. And you have Florida, Duke, and Duke. So, and I know you're still like, you have a chance to finish second if Auburn wins, right?
I have the opportunity. If Auburn wins it all, I will finish in second place, right? Somebody else has Auburn, and it all came down to that Houston, Houston, Tennessee game last week. If Tennessee would have won, I would win the whole pool if Auburn wins it all. But so now the best I can do is second place. But I have like a 99.3% success rate with my picks this year. And I'm still like in 20th place. No,
you don't have a 99% success pick.
That's the way I read it.
You've missed one pick so far.
That's the way I read it.
No, you're in 99 percentile of the brackets, meaning you're better than, 99% of other people's
Where are
brackets.
you
at? I would say I am in like the 98%. And not better than, worse than 98% of all brackets.
Well, you picked Mizzou to win it all, so there you go.
All right, hey, and so the winner of our bracket challenge, which we'll be finding out next week, gets $750 to High Stakes Smokehouse. Wow. Just want to remind you guys, High Stakes open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every single week right there in Osage Beach. But premier butcher shop, go see Chad and some of those killer sandwiches. But I'm just sad that I'm not eligible to win the $750 because that place rocks.
Yeah, me too. But you're rich. You can go in there any day and, open up that wallet and you're good to go, baby. You don't need to win those $750.
Do you guys accept Captain Ron's gift cards? Does that work? Go see our friends there. Hey, wanted to note, it's with a heartfelt, really sad news we have to share that we found out this week of the passing of the great Lake TV's Bob Spicer at 83 years old, passed away Friday, March 28th. He spent many, many years in the Boston, Massachusetts radio market, was a talented, beloved producer, on-air talent, among many other things. He had his own creative services production company, King Kong Productions, for years and years, and he was the first professional that I met when I started at Lake TV in 2013, a special guy, and it was unexpected that we lost Bob Spicer at 83 years old, gave so much to me, to Lake TV, and to so many of you through Weekend at the Lake, through his incredible many countless features that were fun, they were zany, they were outside the box, They were only a way that Bob Spicer could deliver, and we wanted to pass on the news of his, or share the news of his passing. We lift up Julie Spicer, his daughter, and all people that knew Bob and were fortunate enough to work with him or get to view some of his incredible content. Pretty special man, and we'll keep you posted on the Lake TV Facebook page if we find out of any services or anything else planned. And as far as that, we do want to remind everybody that there's all kinds of good stuff happening this week on Lake TV. Of course, Weekend at the Lake started by Bobby Spicer. David Leatherberry will have a special tribute this week. You don't want to miss that. And of course, on the Lake TV Community Spotlight, the Raising Hope Free Store.
Yeah, good stuff that they do for the community, so check that out.
Until next week, from Slumberland at the Lake, rest in peace to our good friend, Bobby Spice.
Bob Spicer, Lake TV.